Well, welcome everyone. Glad you are here with me this evening. I'm Jennaya Robison, Artistic Director of the National Lutheran Choir, and I am joined by Brian Newhouse, who is my guest tonight. Brian is was a longtime Minnesota Public Radio host and currently works for Minnesota Orchestra. Is that correct?
Yep.
And also, I didn't know this until this summer, but just finished up a stint as the president of the board for Chorus America. And so we are thrilled to have you here with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Really,
And we are interested to know if you are out there joining us, where you're joining us from. So please go ahead and put that in the chat. Let us know where you're coming from, and please be ready with some questions that you have for us this evening as we're talking with Brian and about all things choir, all things National Lutheran Choir Christmas Festival, and all things A New Hope, as you can see on my Star Wars themed mug here. Brian, just to kind of let people know about, I've known Brian, or known of Brian, really for since I was in college, and would listen to you on the radio station. And then we sang in the Dale Warland Singers together in I think it was 1998, 99. And then I realized that we were both Luther College graduates. And so it's just so exciting that you are joining us for the Christmas Festival and serving as our narrator for the concerts. But also, I asked you if you would compile and create the poetry narrative during the concert. So, and for those who don't know about the National Lutheran Choir Christmas Festival programming, or really kind of the hallmark of what I think of as NLC programming style, it's what I like to call narrative programming. And so we try to seamlessly combine text and music together into a concert experience that is without applause. And this is not really my idea. This was Larry Fleming, the founder of the National Lutheran Choir, who started doing this, over 30 years ago. But when I took the job as artistic director with NLC, I thought I would love to have a voice for the Christmas festival, that people hear the voice and they go, I know that voice. I've heard that voice before. And so we're just thrilled to have you join us, Brian. Could you talk to us just a little bit about, you are all things choir. How did you get to that? What drew you to wanting to sing and to choral music?
I think one of my very earliest memories is being a little kid with a starched white surplice on with a red bow, and that I was in what was called the cherub choir.
Me too. With the red bow.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's good. That's good. So this was a million years ago, and I just have never stopped. That is like earliest memory. I remember being 4 years old and wanting to marry my choir director. Very cute gal. It didn't work out. So. But I stuck with it anyway, and it just never stopped. It's been a passion forever, and like you, Jennaya, like probably many people watching and coming to the concerts, this is just a deeply moving part of my life, and I kind of can't imagine without it.
Yeah. So do you do much singing these days?
Yeah. I stopped for several years as I had just kind of this mysterious vocal problem that just kind of curtailed everything for about 5, 6, 7 years, and then slowly got it back together again, and then joined my church choir. My wife and I sing in a really nice small church choir here in St. Paul, and that's become almost kind of our our little village, very close friends, wonderful experiences, doing some traveling to conferences, but mostly serving the congregation, just with, singing several Sundays a month.
That's great. Well, for, a shameless plug for both you and for me, we're both on the Britton or Bernstein and Britton CD of the Dale Worland Singers, and you're actually singing the baritone solo on "Rejoice in the Lamb." Isn't that correct?
Oh, I have no memory of that.
It is. I think of it whenever I teach that piece, and I'm teaching how you get from the what is it for H is oh shoot, or for M is music, and you have to go up to the high F, and you get
Yeah,
into the new tempo.
yeah.
I always would teach my conducting students, well, this is how I know Brian Newhouse would navigate that part, and so you.
Yeah, that would have been, what is that, 25-ish years ago, if that's even possible. So yeah, that
We
memory
were
is
both,
lost and
yeah.
missed to time.
We were elementary school students in
Yeah,
the Dale
that's it.
Worland Singers.
Yeah, very precocious. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's great.
Yeah, but no, choirs is just, and what better place than Minnesota to be a choir geek? There is no better place than this, this community. And I mean the community across the state, mostly across the upper Midwest, but specifically in the Twin Cities. So there's just so many opportunities to scratch that itch. And it's been a joy. And so, yeah, when I was at Minnesota Public Radio for many years, we got opportunities to do a lot of things with choir on the radio, online, presenting touring choirs coming in, King's College, Cambridge, Eric Whitaker singers, King's singers, Voce 8. So we got to know them very well as artistic partners, but also media partners. So it was a way for me to both be in radio and media, but also to keep going with this passion for choirs. And that was a real lovely thing that I was able to be a part of.
Well, and you, I'm sure that you probably recognize this, but your creativity with what you would curate for those broadcasts really shaped the consciousness of what we were wanting to listen to. So,
well, thank you. You treat that responsibility with the utmost care,
right.
because when you make a choice for A, and you only have limited time on the radio or online, you're leaving out B, and so you always had very, very hard choices. We were so pleased to work closely with David Cherwin in presenting several excerpts from the Christmas Festival every year for many years. I've been gone from NPR now for three and a half years, so. But before then, it was very consistent, really treasured part of what we presented at Christmas time, along with St. Olaf and Concordia and Luther and Cantus and Vocal Essence and Dale Worland, and
there's just so much. Do you have do you speculate why is choir so popular up in the upper Midwest?
I have been asked that a lot, especially when I joined Chorus America, which, for people who don't know what Chorus America is, and there's really no reason basically that you should, because it's the service organization for choirs of kind of almost all kinds. It's not a concert presenter. It's not a choir itself. There's no choir called Chorus America. Yeah. But it's very much a behind the scenes organization that tries to just foster best practice and growth and healthy ecosystems for choirs of all kinds, student choirs, church choirs, professional choirs. So when and it's a national organization, so I was often asked, like, what is in the water in Minnesota?
Yeah.
And I, it is, there's two things that come to mind, and this is going to be no surprise to anybody on screen. One is just the wealth of largely Scandinavian, but not exclusively Scandinavian immigrants who came here 150, 175, 100 years ago, and they were singing, and they didn't stop singing. And so we are all the product of that. These wonderful colleges are the product of that and have these fantastic, fantastic choirs.
Yeah.
Parentheses, the college choirs in the upper Midwest are fully the equal of professional level choirs in many other parts of the country. They are
Right.
astonishingly good. The other thing I cite, and this is just my own kind of personal way I look at it. I trace it hugely back to Afmelius Christiansen, the Norwegian immigrant who came and settled in Northfield, and what he did, starting this huge tradition of superb choral singers, getting these kids off the farms from all over the Midwest, and demanding excellence of them in whatever repertoire they did. But then you can see where that went to his sons, their successors. There's Dale Warland, there's Anton Armstrong, and it just kind of keeps going and going. And the choirs that spun off from that, Magnum Chorum, many National Lutheran Choir connections as well. So I put a lot of, I wish I would have been able to meet him, but Afmelius Christiansen, I think, gets a lot of credit for being the pebble that got dropped in the middle of the pond, and it's just still rippling.
Oh, absolutely. And his, that's really part of our lineage. I think with almost all of the Lutheran choral colleges, or the ones that we think of that do big Christmas festivals, and certainly NLC and a lot of the local choirs, that we sort of pay homage to that tradition, in all of our concerts. So, I see that we have a comment or a question. Sam Staggs, my old choir director in Austin, was in Dale Warland Singers as well. Tim O'Brien. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Tim. Yeah.
That's
I
great.
stood next to him for a while.
Really?
For a little bit. Yeah, he's gone. I think he's moved to Texas now.
Okay.
Where he is, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it is a small world.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty well connected. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, in thinking about crafting this concert program, I want to make sure that I like to program thematically, and I've been doing that consistently in my work with choirs at community choirs, professional choirs, but also in collegiate settings, where I think that at our heart, that choral musicians are storytellers, and that if we can guide the listener on in a experience where they're going to hear something in a little different way, I think it's beautiful. And I think that the poetry can do that. So when we first started talking about, would you be interested in this process of curating poetry, or perhaps writing some texts for this too, writing poetry, we talked a little bit about what's the theme, what kind of music are you programming, and then we talked a little bit about the tradition of what kinds of subject matter can we use for this story that is New Hope, not Star Wars based, but I can't help it. But that, do talk to us a little bit about what your process was and what kind of story you wanted to tell through the programming, because I really did want to give you a lot of artistic freedom.
Yeah, it did. I'll go back. Actually, it started well before you and I even began, because I got the mailing from National Lutheran Choir that contained the season brochure. I got it at home here, and I just, because I knew there had been, I wasn't following it totally close. I knew that David Sherwin had retired and that you were the new director, but I kind of wasn't sure of the timing of that, and I just, wasn't paying super close attention. But I thought, well, let me read this, and so what I read was what you wrote about a vision for what a group called the National Lutheran Choir might aspire to do, to widen that tent for more people to find themselves in the joy of choral music, in the joy of Christian tradition, but also other traditions to find their way in here. And that very much aligned with my own kind of feeling, of my own kind of faith and theology. That I remember I wrote you right away thinking, good for you. I mean, change can be hard for different people, different organizations. But I was just so on board with what you were saying before I heard the choir sing the note under your direction. And so then we just got connected. And so we very quickly started talking about, well, what's the theme? What are the sections of the concert, of this experience?
Right.
What are you trying to accomplish artistically? And let me see if I can come alongside that with something that either amplifies that, or if it's a diamond, turns it one facet so you see a new light in that. That was my idea, is like, how can I not Shanghai this thing at all, but serve it and make it able to so people are able to find their own way into it, maybe a different way.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, we were talking today in a meeting with staff and just some members of the NLC community, and I was mentioning to them about what I think, that Lutheranism is a faith, but I think that especially in the upper Midwest, it's a cultural identity in a way too. You know, we think of it, especially with singing and participatory nature of worship services, but I hope that people would come to an NLC concert and feel that there is a radical sense of inclusion. I don't know who coined that phrase, but it was not me. Um, but that you could come to this, knowing the Christmas story, having that be part of your faith tradition or not, and that you would feel completely immersed in this cultural experience that is Christmas. I mean, we see it everywhere with lights and decorations, and it's just part of who we are, I think, as Americans. But yeah. So, would you like to talk to us a little bit about what poetry did you gravitate toward?
Yeah. Well, behind me, it's just, I could swing the camera around, you'd see a whole shelf of poetry books. I buy a lot of it. I read a lot of it. I'm actually starting now to try to memorize some of it,
Yeah,
as just a good kind of heart, mind, and soul exercise of committing to memory something that you love. Like, a pianist would memorize a Chopin etude. This is something that's meaningful and beautiful, and you just want to be able to have it in your fingers, or in my case, in my head. Um, so a couple things were really important to me. I wanted to, I really wanted to find voices that it's going to sound really basic, but I really wanted to see how many female voices I could incorporate, because you're going to be listening to me, a male voice, and some of the many of the composers are on this concert are male.
right.
And I thought, well, let's really try to think, what are other voices? Well, let's start with gender expression.
Yep.
So I went right away to, who are the female poets that I love, and there's a lot of them. And so all of a sudden, hard choices started presenting themselves. But I put out, because I'm have a network of friends who are writers.
Yeah.
Said, who do you love? Who should I be paying attention to? I know the ones I know, but that's probably a slim fraction of everybody. It is a slim fraction of everybody who's doing this. So I really said, looking for women who have a perspective on a religious experience, and it could be from a Christian point of view, it could be from a non-Christian point of view, but let's start there. So I got several good suggestions there. And it was kind of fun. It's like, people in this network, they want to help. They want, and all of a sudden you get bombarded with, like, Jennaya, have you ever asked for, like, hey, I'm looking for a soprano, alto, tenor, bass thing. It's about 4 minutes long. Anybody know? It's like, how many suggestions do you get?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And
You know?
then composers themselves suggesting their music as well.
Oh,
So
sure.
yeah.
I just so happen to have this thing.
Yes.
So that was first, and so there are some poets, particularly women, who I just think the world of. The worlds they've created with their poetry. So they got pride of first place, and you'll hear some of them in the program. Then there's some others that I just thought, let me see if I can, like, there was, I'll tell, actually, maybe something of might be interesting, because it's illustrative of the process. So Jennaya has programmed this gorgeous, gorgeous piece called Jesus Christ, the Apple Tree.
Right.
And so I just literally started looking through all my books about, okay, religion and faith and trees. And that was it. It was like, and I just was paging through stuff. And I found this really wonderful thing by a Native American writer, Scott Momaday. And we both, I shared it with Jennaya, and you really liked it.
Yeah.
And then you get in the weeds of this thing, and then we have to request permissions to actually publish it, and then to have it be part of a media experience. And that proved to be too cumbersome for us to get that cleared in time. So that one fell by the wayside. So that's also part of the process. It's very, it's a little bit of heartbreak in some of these. Like, oh, this would be perfect. Sorry. But then mostly, and I'll wrap this up, the thing that you, Jennaya, asked me to do was like try to find the text or a poem that would resonate on the music that's about to be heard.
Right.
So we often thought of the poem as an introduction to what you're about to hear. So that was actually very helpful for me, whether it was about children, whether it was about light, walking in light, whether it was about trees, these kinds of things. So that helped me.
Yeah, that's well, and the theme of the concert, which I hope that people will, if they have, questions about it, or if I think it's pretty explicit in the way that the pieces of music are lined up in the poetry, that hope equals light, and this lightness that we have, or just sort of without any baggage that we have as children. And when I think about Christmas, I don't think many of us can't go to that place of thinking about it as a child. And so we start in darkness, we start in sort of this wandering, and then we walk as children of light. And in the end, I want to walk as a child of the light. And I love the way that you've married some of these, all of the poetry I'm looking at the poem by Anne Porter. I met a flock of children who all came up running to me and saying, just these beautiful images that marry the religious context of the Christmas story with what it was like for us, thinking about going out and sledding and then coming in and wondering what's Santa going to leave under the tree for me. It's I think a really good pairing.
That was fun to find those resonances. We'll find out during the concert and afterwards. Like, well, how'd it go? How'd you do?
Well, Marta Edmond, who's one of our singers, actually, she is, gave a comment here. I love hearing more about the poetry selection process, Brian. The poems are such a deeply meaningful part of this program. Looking forward to next week. I think that I probably don't even understand the importance of the poetry as much as people who have been to the Christmas Festival for decades. This is really something that was very integral to this experience and was curated by Susan Cherwin for many years.
Yeah, and I'm just very aware of that privilege of stepping into this kind of holy space that she created. And many people will come into the service and the concert expecting and perhaps needing for whatever they've come from in their own life. So I took that responsibility very humbly and very, very seriously, and just trying to do right. And also, as I mentioned, if I can foster your vision, Jennaya, too, which is not exactly the same as what came before. It is different. So I wanted to try to find things that could do both.
Yeah. Well, and here's another question here. What do you hope people take away from their experience at the NLC Christmas Festival? Honestly, this is my first Christmas festival that I've attended as well. I mean, I've seen them online, but I lived in the Twin Cities, 25 years ago. And then as a musician, well, this is an incredibly busy time of year. And so I never had the opportunity to come back up to see one. Um, what do you hope that people take away from the work that we've done on this project?
That's a really good question. I hope they are ravished by beauty. The singing, of course, and the compositions, of course. And then the beauty of these words that the poets have just crafted with every bit of heart, soul, and mind that they can. That there's something about the individual pieces that makes a whole experience of beauty for them. Because at this moment in our world, that's in pretty short supply. And I hope we can give that to people. And the last poem that people will hear is really kind of a call to action.
Yeah.
Jennaya, you were very, very clear about. It's what can we do to perhaps empower people, having had this experience, in my words, of beauty, and what many different ways of thinking about beauty. What then? Or
right.
So what? And I hope that this last poem that we've chosen is kind of a charge to the audience, very much in the spirit of the concert and very much in the spirit of the season too, but a charge for action.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it seems in I don't know, I have 3 kids, and I know you have children that are in that, early 20s age, that they want their time is valuable, as all of our time is valuable, but they really feel drawn to experiences that are meaningful and authentic. And having a concert at this time of year when you have so many choices to go to different things, especially in an area like Minneapolis, I really want people to feel that they come and they get to fill their cup, but then also that empowers them to want to go out and do something in the world and be inspired by the hope to take that on into the world.
Mm.
So I know that when I asked you about this, I asked if you would be willing to even write some texts. And you did actually. I don't know if would you want to give us a preview or anything or would you like to save it for the concert?
Oh, it's your show. Do whatever you want.
I love this. I think it's beautiful and where you put the poem. So the last section of the concert, for those who may have not experienced it before, the choir does move. I think we have 5 different sort of physical positions that we're in. And one of the last positions is in a space in the cathedral that's called the apse, which is actually behind the altar, and you can't see it very well. I mean, you can kind of see through some different things, but it's interesting to have a concert where you really you're just listening and you're not able to see folks' faces and such. And so this is a very tender moment in the concert. And so you wrote this beautiful poem that'll come before Chris Johnson piece, the Olaf Christiansen Light Everlasting. Would you want to read just a little snippet for us?
Sure. Just a second. Find it.
There's nothing like me just putting you on the spot here.
No,
And while you're finding that too, I'm thrilled that you chose some Minnesota poets as well to be able to showcase.
Yeah, that was very intentional. Like choral music and singers in this community, there is a wealth of wonderful writers. Oh my gosh, we have got so many good writers right here in the Twin Cities, but throughout the state. I really want to, wherever possible, I want to shine a light on.
Right.
Well, I'll read just at least some of this here. And this is just be called Before Prayer. And part of it reads this way. Before we kneel before we bow and bend and search in the dark. Hang on, I'll start this again. Before we kneel, before we bow and bend and search in the dark for words of the heart, lifetimes ago the stars sent you their kindness, like a hand to graze your brow, to raise your head, to lay you back and wash your eyes clean. It's these stars, the sun, before you kneel, before you bow and bend, see all this light. That's just a bit of it. And you got even a little bit of a little Microsoft Word notification there. No extra cost. And
that was the light. Well, Sam Stagg says again, we are always ravished by beauty. Yeah, I look forward to these concerts every year. It's truly, I walk into that space, the Basilica of St. Mary. I've been in there a couple of times, and it's just each time I think, I cannot believe I'm this lucky to be able to make music in here. Oh my goodness, my good friend Casey Cook.
Casey Cook, hi Casey.
Oh, Casey.
Tuned in probably from Washington, D.C. environs.
Right. And Casey's getting ready to do concerts, I think, at the National Cathedral too. So we'll be doing things, in similar spaces, and that's one of the things that I wish we could put on the program as a little attribute the glory of this concert also to the Basilica of St. Mary should be one of the characters at the bottom. It's just spectacular. Are you looking forward to speaking in that space?
Yeah, I'm going to have to get speaking of New Hope and Darth Vader in my James Earl Jones voice, I'm going to have to smoke cigars and drink whiskey the night before and see if I can do justice to that space.
Yeah,
I am looking forward to it, and it is it's going to be a new experience for me, as everyone coming into this experience first time here may do this, but I was really tickled to be asked to do this, and just going to do my best.
That's great. Well, and you are like the voice of God in the back too, because we don't see you, we just hear you. So yeah, it's going to be just absolutely beautiful. So Andrew, how important is the integration of spoken word and music into a program like this? What does one provide to the listener that the other may not?
I have a quick story I can tell you that has really helped me understand questions like that. And for many years, I was working with the Minnesota Orchestra as their broadcaster. And I got to know Osmo Venska very well, music director of the orchestra. Right. And he and I were talking one time about programming a concert of new music and traditional beloved classics and putting them right up against each other. And he said something I've never forgotten, and it's partly how I'd answer your question right now. It's like and Osmo said, when you have a contemporary piece of music right next to an older piece of music, hearing the contemporary piece makes you listen to the old piece differently. And when you hear an old piece followed by a new piece, it makes you listen to the new piece differently. So I think of that in the same way as the spoken word introduction. I hope that's if I'm doing my job right.
Yeah.
It will hopefully let you hear the music in a different way, or in a fuller way, or a more ready way. Hopefully that's the level of integration that we were aiming for.
Well, I think it is a beautifully crafted set of texts to go with what I was thinking. It's the programming, people ask, how long does it take you to program a concert like this? And it's like, oh, I can't really say, because I've been thinking about it since May, but I've also been thinking of this program for years, or I'm drawing on different things I've done in the past. But yeah, this made me listen to the music and conduct the music in a little different way too. And I think that when the singers hear the text, and I think they just received the text today in an email, that they'll sing it in a different way too, which is great. So, Well, Brian, it has been such a pleasure to have you with us here tonight, and we're going to get to see more of you next week in our rehearsals and in our concerts. But for those of you who would like to join us, the Christmas Festival next weekend on Friday, December 8th, 4:30 concert, which is an unusual time for a concert, but actually a great time for a concert because you will be done in time for dinner. And then you can go out and just feel full spiritually and physically. and and then two concerts on December 9th, 1:30 and 8 p.m. And then also the live stream is going to be of the concert that's on Saturday at 1:30. So you won't be able to view the live stream until that time on December 9th. But then that stream will be kept live on our YouTube page. So you could go back and watch it again. We'll also have a PDF of our program on the website at nlca.com. Just as a reminder, too, for anybody who wants to come and see this, all children and students, and that includes both, elementary, junior high, high school, college, graduate school, medical school, you're free. So we really want to be able to remove all barriers for that. But to a more important question, we got to know, what's your favorite Star Wars movie? Brian, do you have a favorite?
Oh, if I were the geek that I think I am among in this venture here, I would have a really good answer. But I like Star Wars, just kind of like most people like Star Wars. But I feel like I'm among the connoisseurs of Star Wars, so I'm going to defer to you, Jennaya.
Well, I have to say that I've seen all of the movies in the movie theater, back to the very first one. I think I made it to about the 15 minutes before I fell asleep. But I think my favorite would have to be, and this isn't the typical one. It would probably be Return of the Jedi, only because I remember in what was that, 1983? I remember the line going around the movie theater twice to get into that. It was just epic. So, but come and join us next weekend for the New Hope. And a little Yoda reference for you. Enjoy it, you will. But we are so thrilled, Brian, to have you here with us tonight and to have you with us next weekend. Thank you so much for all that you've done to really just create beauty in this world and in our choral community. We are in your debt for shaping our consciousness for a long time with choral music.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and I'm really looking forward to being with your singers, with your audience next week. Thank you, Jim.
Great. Super. Ooh, Julie Lindstrom from Oh, great. We're excited to have you, Julie. And I think if we are able to, on our way out, I'd love to just show a little clip. Can we show a clip of the Basilica, just our shining star who doesn't get any acknowledgement on the program so much, but just a little snippet that Will Heller, our social media person, put together and put on Facebook last week. I don't know if we're able to put that up, Will, but if you are able to follow us on Facebook or Instagram, then you can see this. But we'll close with that. We hope you join us. If you're not able to, please take a look at the live stream next week after that goes up. And we wish you peace and happiness during this time. And we hope the NLC can just provide a little bit of happy holidays to you from wherever you are in the world. So thanks, Brian.
Yep. Bye-bye. Good night, everybody.